happy to say I have two congressmen that are here joining us who actually get it, who've been fighting the fight and have been leaning in on all these battles on their constituents' behalf, on your behalf. And so we're joined by, from Texas, Congressman Chip Roy, and fresh off another landslide victory, we have the electoral juggernaut himself, Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky. So welcome, gentlemen. And well, Thomas, since you won yet another big election, I'll give it to you first. You got a lot of folks out here that are looking at this saying, wait a minute, Biden's doing all this. Why are they giving him so much money if Republicans control the House?
Great question, Governor. There are 7 things that Biden can do. So let's just say, first of all, when he says he can't do anything without us, he could do 7 different things without us: end, catch, and release, reinstate, remain in Mexico, rein in taxpayer-funded benefits. It's a big list of that. But Congress could stop him right now using the power of the purse. I remember having breakfast with Justice Scalia when Boehner was our speaker and Obama was in the White House. And the question at breakfast was, what are you going to do, Scalia, to rein in the constitutional balance of government or to reestablish it? And Scalia said, you're the most powerful branch. Why are you asking me in the judiciary branch to referee this? And one of our colleagues said, wait, impeachment's too hard to pull off, because Scalia said it's in the Constitution, everything you need. And Scalia said, I'm not talking about impeachment. You guys have the power of the purse, and you're complaining about everything Obama's doing, but you're funding it. And here we find ourselves in the same, very similar situation. Republicans control the House. We have the power of the purse. There's a Democrat in the White House, and we're complaining about the things he's doing, but we are funding these things. So
yeah, I mean, there was the news about in 2023 and I still think he's doing this, but we got the data. 2023, he's granting parole to people in other countries illegally doing this, and then flying them into the country. And he wouldn't be able to do that if he didn't have funding. So Chip Roy, I know you've been fighting this fight. It seems like in the last few months, the wheels have kind of come off in terms of any type of spending restraint or any type of constitutional accountability. And it seems like you guys, and I know you were fighting the opposite side of this, but it seems like you guys have given up your leverage between now and the election.
Governor, great to be on. Congratulations, Thomas, on the great win. The only thing, riskier for Sean's reputation of having you host governors is inviting Thomas and I on. That's going to,
Amen to that.
But look, Thomas is right. And obviously, I feel this very personally as a representative from Texas, as you know, we've talked about together many times. But just consider some facts. Bill Melugin, who obviously reports on this great for Fox, last night reported 2 a.m. we had people from Iran, from Pakistan, from numerous state sponsors of terror that were stopped in California just last night with no Mexican nationals. This is the reality of what's happening at our southern border. We had a witness who came in and testified from Kinney County, Texas, which is, kind of west of San Antonio, close to along the border. And they testified that in 2021, they had about 150 criminal prosecutions. Last year, they had 6,700. The reason I bring this up, this is ongoing. We still have like 5,000-ish a day. We still have what you alluded to, Governor, which a lot of the listeners, Sean's audience is very smart and knows this information. But, we've got people being paroled into the United States with just blatant disregard for the law, and they can end run the visuals of having mountains of people down at the river all, amassed. And so they're able to just fly them in, like you said, often, and frankly, a lot of those are being flown to Florida and to Texas and all over the country. And doing that hides it from the American people. So to the question,
and in fact, it's an illegitimate use of power, but they are given documents. They are just put on commercial flights. So if someone flies into Austin, Texas, or Miami, Florida, or New York City, they have documents. They go through customs, and you don't know 300 people who is part of this program or not. It's just done, and they're not keeping track of it. So and we already know some of the people Biden has done this for are facing criminal charges for things like sexually assaulting minors. So this is an absolute travesty that this is allowed to go on.
The individual who was released into the United States that ultimately killed Laken Riley, that was a person that was released under parole. So to the point that what you asked, yes, we've given up all our leverage by not using the power of the purse when we passed a massive omnibus spending bill that busted the caps. We said we wouldn't fund Ukraine without making sure our border was secure first. Those were all things that we just did, and we did it with majority Democrat votes. It was a mistake. Thomas and I have been very vocal about this. I hope we can get back on track and do the right thing between now and November. We've got to convince Americans that we'll do what we said we would do. But frankly, we're allowing the swamp to do swamp things. The good news is many of us are exposing it in ways that have never been exposed before.
And I think it's so we in Florida, for example, we've been suing Biden for years over this stuff. We're suing them over catch and release, and we've actually won some victories, but it gets tied up. We're suing them on the illegal parole program. We're doing that. We're taking action in ordinance. For example, we're saying if you bring in illegals to Florida, you're going to face consequences. Court just enjoined that, believe it or not. And so we're fighting all these, but it just seems to me that our founders would look at that and they'd say, okay, states can do this. But reality is, if he does not have the money to do it, that he can't do it. I think you two have been very strong on this. So what does it look like? You have massive amounts of debt, inflationary spending. It seems to me that the border issue, Chip, I think you're right. It's raging worse than ever. It seems like the media is really working to downplay it. I don't know that it's the same in the public consciousness the way it was. I mean, when we did the Martha's Vineyard, that raised it. Something like Laken Riley, those tragic situations, raises the visibility. Seems like the media is going to really work throughout the balance of this election cycle to try to ignore what's happening at the border in order to help Joe Biden.
Yeah, and you're going to have Republicans who are going to make it sound more complicated than it is. They're going to say, we can't do that. But, Governor, you were in Congress, and you remember the appropriations process. And you can stop any of these things with one sentence in a bill. You just say none of the money hereby appropriated can be used to fund, and then you put whatever you want to stop in the blank. In the catch and, none of the money can be used to fund the catch and release policy. None of the money can be used for this expanded parole authority. None of the money can be used for the plane flights. It's that simple, and they're going to try and make it sound complicated. We've got another bite at the apple. Unfortunately, it's not until September when the funding comes due. People say, how are you going to get this past the Senate? The Senate always passes a funding bill. Just put these sentences in there.
I hear, you guys have a narrow majority. And trust me, I was working in Florida. We added 4 Republicans to your delegation just from Florida. You wouldn't even have the majority now if it wasn't for that. So I understand, it's important to have the majority. They're like, the majority's narrow. The Democrats, they had 50 senators Biden's first 2 years. He got almost everything he wanted through. They have 51 senators now. You don't ever hear them complain about narrow majority. They just do what they want to do. And I guess, Chip, it goes down to if you guys were to send a funding bill like Thomas alluded to, defunding the unconstitutional behavior, I guess the fear of Republican leadership is the Democrats in the Senate would balk at it. It could lead to a lapse in appropriations and that somehow that'd be a problem. But I think you guys win that fight in terms of the border to say that Biden's not willing to fund all the other things that the American people would want, like military, because he's insisting on an open border. You guys had the upper hand in terms of the public debate on that, and you didn't want to use it.
Yeah, Governor, you're right. I think Thomas would agree with this. I think the problem that you just said a key phrase, right? We could actually win that fight, you said. But here's the key. You got to want to pick the fight. You got to believe in what you're trying to accomplish. And I think we're growing the number of Republicans who actually believe in wanting to accomplish these things and are willing to risk their precious, to quote Lord of the Rings, their precious election certificate if they, to actually try to accomplish something.
But if you can't fight on this, then what are you going to fight on? This is an existential issue for you're either a country or you're not. You can't allow all these hostile nations to send people here. And so I wish more folks would follow your lead. Well, we're going to hold you over till the next break. I want you guys, I know you're working on a bunch of other stuff, so I'm going to give you each 30 seconds to just talk about different initiatives. I mean, I know Chip defunding the UN. Thomas is working on a lot of stuff. So we'll have you back. And I will say this, I know Chip is from Texas and Chip's a golfer. If that would have happened at the PGA Championship with Scotty Scheffler, if something like that happened in Florida, we would have ended that controversy in 30 minutes. I mean, I think it was just ridiculous. And so we would have rolled with that and taken care of business. So we'll be back on the other end of the break, and we'll hear from our congressman. Thanks.
Uncovers the real truth about the politics of D.C. He's your watchdog on Big Brother. Every day, Hannity is on right now.
Sean Hannity on iHeartRadio.
Hey, what if your home's title, which is the legal document that proves you own your home, is in some criminal's name? Well, that's called home title theft, and criminals all over the world can find your home's title online, and then they'll forge your signature. They'll take out loans against your home, or even worse, sell your home. Now, how do you know some criminal is not taking over the title to your home? You can find out with sign up at HometitleLock.com and use the promo code Sean, SEAN.
War, inflation, and recession. Did you know that experts call gold the everything hedge? Gold goes far beyond hedging against inflation or the stock market. It can potentially even guard you against today's wars in Ukraine and the Middle East, not to mention the great economic danger of a recession coming, which is what we're all worried about. And that's why gold just hit another record high. And central banks, they just keep buying gold at a record pace. It's Linda here. Join me and thousands of people who have called Goldco the #1 rated gold company. It's time you diversify your money with time-tested safe haven assets, physical gold and silver. Today, Goldco is offering our listeners up to 8 years in free IRA fees, plus up to 8% in bonus silver with a qualified account. Call 855-815-GOLD for free IRA fees, free bonus silver, and a free gold and silver info kit. What are you waiting for? Call 855-815-GOLD. That's 855-815-GOLD. Do it today. You can't wait.
Hey, what if your home's title, which is the legal document that proves you own your home, is in some criminal's name? Well, that's called home title theft, and criminals all over the world can find your home's title online, and then they'll forge your signature. They'll take out loans against your home, or even worse, sell your home. Now, how do you know some criminal is not taking over the title to your home? You can find out with sign up at HometitleLock.com and use the promo code Sean, SEAN.
Every business faces challenges, but complicated, expensive, and uncertain shipping shouldn't be one of them. With USPS Ground Advantage from the United States Postal Service, you can avoid all the noise. No more unexpected surcharges, hidden fees, or complex rate structures. It's just easy, cost-effective, and dependable shipping. Tune your business's frequency to success and turn shipping to your advantage. Learn how at USPS.com/advantage. USPS Ground Advantage. Simple, affordable, reliable.
At Strayer University, we see you striving to work harder and go further. That's why we provide you with the tools you need to get there, like offering a brand new laptop when you enroll in a bachelor's program. So you can do your coursework anytime, anywhere, and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more. Eligibility rules, restrictions, and exclusions apply. Connect with us for details. Strayer University is certified to operate in Virginia by Chev and has many campuses, including at 2121 15th Street North in Arlington, Virginia.
This is out of control. Our government is sinking $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. When people worry about our debt crisis, they often turn to safe haven assets. That's why thousands of people have called Goldco, the #1 rated gold company. Today, Goldco is offering iHeart listeners $10,000 instant match in free bonus silver with a qualified account. Plus, call 855-GOLD-IRA now to qualify for a free 1-ounce silver Ronald Reagan coin. That's 855-GOLD-IRA.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right?
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Ooh, pass me the intercom thingy.
Attention shoppers. If you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Don't pay for water. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods.
Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives you access to all. Every audience, live conversations, trusted influencers, and the insights and data you need to grow. iHeartMedia is your access company. Go to iHeartResults.com for more.
If you get a custom-tailored suit, it's going to fit perfectly and make you look great. Think about that with a Noble First for your organization. No matter what the size of your company is, a Noble First will analyze your data and collaborate with you to custom-tailor digital solutions so you can focus on making your organization grow. When it comes to data-centric solutions specifically for your organization, choose a Noble First. A Noble First makes living simple. See for yourself at enoblefirst.com, ENNOBLE first.com.
Well, we're back on the Sean Hannity Show. This is Governor Ron DeSantis. I'm here with Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky and Congressman Chip Roy from Texas, both of whom are very active. They're both very strong constitutionalists. They understand what the country's all about, and they're fighting to make sure that we restore what's great about our country. They also have a lot of good ideas and a lot of initiatives that they want to push. I want to give each of you 60 seconds to talk about some of the things you're working on. I know, Chip, I've heard you talk about defunding the United Nations and a bunch of other stuff. I know Thomas has a lot of stuff. So, Chip, I'll start with you. What do you got in the hopper? If you were speaker, what would you be bringing to the floor?
Well, thanks, Governor. And Thomas and I probably co-sponsor almost all of these bills with each other. I've got to defund the UN. He's been very big on that. We do that and talk about it together. Mike Lee has that in the Senate. I've got a bill to defund the World Health Organization. I've had that for a long time. They're about to implement their crazy, radical stuff that interferes with our sovereignty. We ought to be doing more about that. I think we ought to lead on that in the House. We also have legislation that I do hope will move, the SAVE Act, which will require proof of citizenship documentation if you vote in federal elections. I think we got to do that. There's too many states, including and then also the nation's capital, that are trying to end run the current law, which requires you to be a citizen, but there's no ability to enforce it. So we're working on that. We've got other good bills that I think are critically important. And, you know, like Thomas has got some great bills I'll let him talk about that I think it deal with the extent to which you've got this massive corporate cronyism taking over ability to have farmers and get food to the table that I'm strongly supportive of. But I'll let him talk more about that. But there's a lot of things we could do to break down this bureaucracy up here and fight to get good policies if we're willing to do it.
Yeah, no. Well, look, in Florida, you don't have to worry about illegals voting here because we prosecute that, and we've done that. We didn't do it before I was governor. Now we do it, and it's made a huge, huge impact. All right, Congressman Massie, over to you. What do you got on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm ticking off the corporations up here because I want to empower small farmers. I just reintroduced a bill that you were a co-sponsor of when you were in Congress to get the FDA out of regulating and arresting farmers for interstate commerce for moving raw milk across state lines. It seems like a simple thing. The federal government shouldn't be involved in the food decisions and things like that. So it's the Raw Milk Interstate Freedom Act. Another one that I want to mention, because I heard you advertise gold and silver during the break. I just introduced a bill. This hasn't been introduced in 10 years to end the Federal Reserve. Devalued the dollar in the last 4 years 25%, and they monetized the debt. They robbed seniors. You got a lot of those in Florida of their savings by running up inflation. So I think.
All right, we're coming up on a break, but I know a lot of people will be interested in hearing about all those issues. More from you guys. Thank you, Chip Roy, Thomas Massie, for fighting the good fight.